Franz said very well, this is a defining moment for our union. Words are important, I believe. And the refugee crisis we're facing, not only us, but the region and the world, puts our deepest values, even our identity, to a test. It's a moment of truth, to see if we are really Europeans, and if we are really a union. That's it. Our responsibility to protect the life of human beings and human rights, and solidarity among member states and towards those that are in need. But this is also a test for our international credibility. Don't think that we can go around the world promoting human rights if we don't guarantee the highest asylum standards inside the Union. Don't even imagine that we can promote peace and cooperation among parties that are at war in this moment if we don't accept the other inside our own communities and if we don't manage to find unity among ourselves. Our external credibility depends largely on our internal coherence and consistency. We have to be aware of that. Don't imagine that there is only an external response to the crisis, as there cannot be only an internal response to the crisis. The two dimensions of our action, of our identity, of our response, reinforce each other or weaken each other. This is the truth, like it or not, and we have to face it. To be credible, preaching well is not enough. We must act well, we must act fast, and we must act united. Today, we present a communication setting the way forward for all the external action needed to address this crisis. We all know there is no quick magic fix to the crisis we have around us, and most of the external actions we can take, and we are taking, are going to give results in the medium and long term. Still, it is important that we do that now. I know it is very difficult for politicians to explain what is the reason for taking actions that will pay back in years sometimes, but if we don't do that responsibly, generations that are coming after ours will always face the same problem again and again. And let me say that our external action finds us united for once. This is not enough, because we have to find internal unity on domestic internal policies, but it is crucial for our action. First priority is saving lives. The President was outlining how much we have stepped up our work in this respect and how many lives that made it possible to be saved. Second, address the root causes, and I'll come back to that. Third, as important, fight smugglers and traffickers of human beings all along the routes, not only at sea, all along the routes. Also because this is a security issue, as the financial flow around the criminal organisations and networks can finance all kinds of activities that might be relevant also for the European and international security. Our strategy has been clear and consistent since the beginning of our mandate. We cannot focus only on the last mile of the tragedy, but also on all the steps of the refugees' odyssey. Most of the people we see today coming to Europe flee from conflicts and persecution. This is the first issue we need to address. 4 million have fled Syria. Between Syria and Iraq, more than 10 million have left their homes and are internally displaced. Let me say one thing. We have rightly focused in these months on minorities in need of protection in the Middle East, Christians, Kurds or Yazidis, to support their right to stay in their land and go back to the communities they have been living in for centuries. But let me also say very clearly that we cannot protect them only when they are far away from us. We have the duty to protect them, also them and all their fellows, also when they come close to us. The long-term answer, obviously, is putting an end to the conflicts and the wars, facing the threat of Daesh, starting processes of national reconciliations. The deal we reached with Iran, although primarily a non-proliferation deal, can open the way to new possibilities. and the work with all our international and regional partners and all international and regional powers in this direction has already started. Second, we're working with the international community, mainly with the UN agencies, with the countries of origin and transit, and those who host an impressive number of refugees. We've mobilised almost €4 million in humanitarian and development aid to assist displaced Syrians within the country, in Syria itself, in Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey and Iraq. There is a specific case, a very specific case, which is Libya. Not a country of origin, but a country of transit, more than a country of transit. I would say an open corridor. That's why, as you know very well, because we have debated it several times in this very same hemicycle, all our daily and nightly efforts are being spent, together with the UN envoy Bernardino Leon, to try and reach a national unity government in Libya that could allow us to partner with the Libyan authorities on the management of this corridor at the moment. But let me also say that it is going to be very important, and we are working very much in this direction, to work to the south of Libya. If we focus only on the Libyan sea border, forgetting about the Libyan land border, we will never manage to solve the issue of the corridor. That's why I've started an unprecedented dialogue with the countries of the Sahel, and in particular with Niger, but not only Niger. And today, as you know, we're putting forward the proposal of a trust fund for Africa to promote economic opportunities, development, security, and a better management of migration in a sense of partnership, equal partnership with our African countries and partners. The institutions will provide €1.8 million to this fund, and I expect all member states, all of them, to do their fair share. You cannot ask for international cooperation at European level and then don't put the money for it. Remember this when we come to discuss the budget. We have to show coherence in our decisions. A regional trust fund for Syria has already kicked off, has already started in the last months, and the first contract that was opened through the fund deals with schools and education. And let me stress this, because I believe that as we see that Syria is losing an entire generation to war and exile, we have to invest in Syrian children. That is an investment not only for the future of the country, for the future of the region, but also to our security, because this is the best investment we can do against terrorism and radicalisation. Third, and I finish, we're fighting those who trade on human life, the smugglers and the traffickers' networks. We're doing this together with countries of transit in partnership, and we're doing this in the Mediterranean. Our naval operation in the Mediterranean Sea has now fulfilled the objectives of the first phase. We gathered intelligence and information on the smugglers' routes, assets and strategies. Even through the first phase, and just in this 5 weeks, in 16 cases, we would have been able to go after the smugglers, bring them to justice and capture the vessels. That's why I proposed member states in Luxembourg over the last weekend, where we had the defence ministers and the foreign ministers, to move to phase 2 in the high seas, in full respect of international law, and to contribute. I asked member states to contribute with their assets to the mission, because let me say this is also an opportunity for us to show that when we have political will and sense of urgency and unity, we can use also our military and security tools that we already have. But there is something else I'm proud of, that in these very first weeks of common action in the Mediterranean, we have saved 1,500 lives of men and women at sea through our operation. This is not the main purpose of the operation, but this is an important component of it. The way forward, we will have the Valletta Summit on migration in November, bringing together leaders of the European and key African countries, those that are part of the Khartoum and the Rabat process, as well as the African Union Commission and the Economic Community of Western Balkan States Commission. We will have the high-level conference on the Western Balkan route. The two have to be dealt with the same kind of attention and urgency. That will bring together EU member states, Western Balkan countries and Turkey. We need to realise, to conclude, as Europeans, that this is not just a time for emotions. That is the easy part. Let me be cynical. As politicians, we are not requested to express our emotions. We are requested to take decisions that are consistent and coherent with our emotions and be strong on that. Emotions are not enough. We need to act. And this is the time. So I hope that all institutions, member states and citizens, public opinions, because this wave of emotion regards our public opinions, but this can change and we have to be aware of that. We have to finally take responsibility to live up to our values, to the values of our history, to the challenges of the most difficult times our history recently has faced, and the potential of our regional and global role. What is at stake, as France said very well, is not only the life of human beings, and even one single life is enough, but also the state of our Union. Thank you.
Grazie Vicepresidente Mogherini.